Great. Welcome, everyone. I'm Lauren Andrasky and really happy to have you here at our nonprofit onboarding session for Consultants for Good. Um, if you haven't engaged a whole lot with Consultants for Good in the past, we wanted to kick off these nonprofit onboarding sessions as a way really to do a better job of inviting the folks that maybe signed up back when you knew us as Philanthroforce many years ago. Maybe you signed up just for one particular thing. So maybe you were posting a consulting opportunity, connecting with one specific consultant, something like that. Maybe you connected through Methodist Healthcare Ministries or the H.E. Butt Foundation. Lots of different ways you maybe became connected. And although we have a weekly nonprofit newsletter, we haven't done a whole lot to make sure that those of you that work at nonprofits really get a sense of all the free resources and other things you can access within Consultants for Good. So typically, we're going to host these onboarding sessions probably about once a month. You're very welcome to join them again in the future if you have questions, if there's things you want to get a refresher on, if we have new offerings. But this time, and this is the only time this will happen, we wanted to send a calendar invite to let you know that these were coming up in case you weren't used to kind of plugging in with the work that we're doing. I will also apologize for the weird getting calendar invites, then it was canceled, then it wasn't. I don't know what happened. I asked Google, I put in a ticket, we talked about it, and they said, that's weird. And that's the tech support that I got. So apologies. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for showing up anyways, in spite of the potentially annoying emails that you got as an invite. But we're really happy to have you here today. And I am really happy to pass this over to Nikki Murillo.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, cool. So hopefully that sets a little bit of context as to why you're here, if you weren't sure why you were here. But we're happy you're here and happy to have you join us. So just so you know, I have a second screen. So if you see me like popping over there, it's because I'm trying to track what slide we're on, make sure I'm on the same page as you all. But yeah, so my name is Nikki. I use she, her, and ella pronouns. I am a consultant and a part of this community, the Consultants for Good community, and really happy to be here. I've been a part of this community for the last 3 years, and have watched it really grow and blossom and feel really proud to be a part of it. So happy to make some new connections with y'all today. Um, as we typically do, we start our sessions with a land acknowledgement. And so I encourage you to kind of get grounded, get centered, maybe plant your feet on the ground. Even if you're inside, that's okay, but somehow connecting to the ground that you are a part of today. Um, Take a few moments to just breathe and land here. I want to acknowledge the Ute, Arapaho, Oceti-Sakowin peoples who are the past, present, and rightful stewards of the land that I currently have the privilege and honor to reside, recreate, grow, and live upon. We commit to doing the individual and collective work it takes to dismantle systems of colonization. So please take a moment to acknowledge the ground that you are on today if you happen to know the tribes and peoples that are and the current stewards of that. If not, you can look up this website that you see on the slide, native-land.ca. They also have an app. Encourage you to yeah, look into that some more too. There's some really great information and resources on that app. Cool. All right. Thanks, y'all. Hopefully we are settled in, but definitely do what you need to do throughout our time together. This presentation is really to give you all a sense of who Consultants for Good are based on the values that we have come to really make a central part of all of our gatherings, all of our processes, the ways that we show up in the nonprofit and in the world in general. So we are a peer-driven community through and through, and that community consists of a lot of different factors, right? Like folks from the nonprofit sector, like yourselves, There's consultants like myself. There's also foundation leaders and other key stakeholders that we work with, but we're really all focused on supporting the nonprofit sector. Um, we think it's important to acknowledge that there are systemic inequities that impact all industries, right? But particularly in the nonprofit sector, which is why we've all kind of come together as consultants around this sector. We recognize that the nonprofit sector really faces challenges and barriers to scale their impact and become sustainable. Um, and many nonprofit consultants oftentimes have, most if not all of us have backgrounds in nonprofit before we became consultants, right? So there's a special place in all of our hearts for sure. And at C4G, we really want to make sure, especially in these changing times, that we make it known that we are committed to and continue to affirm the values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and that we really work hard to apply all of those values in a peer-driven way. So today's presentation will really be about what those values mean to us and how they show up in real life. So we're gonna start with, but oh yeah, so we'll start with a little just quick
I have the
touch
wrong
point.
slides up. Nikki, I have the consultant ones up. Let me swap them over.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, no worries. Well, it's okay. While you're doing that, I'm gonna start with a brief overview, like of our origin story. So, Lauren is actually the founder of C4G, so we're really lucky to have her with us today. And I wanted to just share a little story about Lauren's early days in consulting and how that really spurred the process of creating this community and how it's blossomed into what it is today. So when Lauren was starting out as a consultant, again, with her own background in nonprofit, she was hired by a nonprofit to do social media. However, social media was not necessarily one of Lauren's areas of expertise, but she felt, let me help, let me show up however I can, let me try and do what I can here. And she did a great job. But how many times as nonprofit leaders, right? And I used to be a nonprofit leader as well. How many times as nonprofit leaders have we kind of just connected with whoever is in our immediate network? Like, we need help with this. Who do we know? Who can we get to kind of quickly come and support us with this, that, or the other? And so it's great to have folks in your network that can help in different ways. But one of the things that Lauren wanted to really see exist is this place of collaboration and idea sharing, and a group of nonprofit professionals who not only can support in different ways, but actually have dedicated expertise, years of experience, and lived experience to be able to support the various needs of nonprofits. And so from that, this community was born to be a place of that collaboration and idea sharing. It benefits consultants because oftentimes we are in these isolated spaces, and it benefits nonprofits because you now have a whole pool of over 1,400 consultants with various expertise and experience. And it benefits the nonprofit sector as a whole to really be able to dig into all of that, and we'll dig into more of how those benefits show up. But our community is so yeah. Hopefully you can see the slides again. So our community is over 1,400 consultants deep, and at this point we are the largest consulting network community of nonprofit consultants in worldwide. So that's pretty special. Around 44% of us also identify with a historically marginalized community. So that is communities who are BIPOC, who are LGBTQIA+, who are disabled, etc. There are many different identities that make up this community, which is so beautiful and rich. And our specialties in terms of the work that we do is just as varied and wide. So things like strategic planning, executive coaching, really supporting with different parts of programming and fundraising, and it gets even more nuanced from there. So the rest of our team, we've got um, our onboarding team here on this slide. So that includes myself and three other consultants, Donna, Logan, and Sanjay. And so we are all specifically on the nonprofit onboarding team. So we're here. Please connect with us. We are here to provide any additional supports and sort of connection points to the community for nonprofits if you're interested. And we'll talk a little bit about more how to connect with that. And then our C4G team is Lauren, who you have met. Lauren is who steers this particular ship, and she's our connector and our biggest cheerleader. Jenny is the director of engagement. She's all things communication and marketing. She really helps folks making sure we're talking to each other, getting materials in front of people in the community. And then we have Peris, who helps keep us all organized and moving forward. So digging in to our first value, C4G programs are peer-driven. So one of the things that makes us thrive is the ability to receive feedback from everyone, from our nonprofit professionals, from our consultants, from foundations, and other community leaders as well. So one big way that we kind of culminate all of this feedback is through an annual landscape analysis. So we collect data to learn about things like which resources that were created by consultants have you been using, have been helpful to you all? Or what types of consulting requests are coming through more often? And we use all of that to help shift our strategic direction for the following year so we can make sure that we're better bolstering those areas and providing more of those resources. Thanks. Next slide. So one other way that we really like to gather feedback in these more immediate and smaller touch points, we have regular surveys and what we call one quick question polls. So in our weekly email newsletter, we include a one quick question poll, and that keeps us being able to refine like I said, on a sort of smaller touch point, the ways that our members are experiencing our community. So we can keep improving and again, making smaller shifts before this more in-depth annual landscape analysis. So for instance, a couple ways, examples of how those pieces of feedback have helped shift things. So as I mentioned before, the historically marginalized communities, those profile options. So as a consultant, when we create a profile so that nonprofits can know who we are if they want to work with us, there's a much more robust list of categories that can paint a brighter picture of who our nonprofit consultants are. And so, for instance, we got rid of the option for other because, well, one, that's not helpful or descriptive, right? But it also we weren't able to connect, nonprofits with the people that they were actually looking for. So with that, we created many more options for folks to identify within their communities. We also used survey input or feedback to help us create the health benefits program. And so that helps nonprofits, consultants and nonprofits to find affordable, high quality health insurance and benefits. Okay, so moving into our next value, diversity, and the ways that we celebrate diversity. So one of the things that we as a community have come to understand is that lived experience, not just professional experience, are vital for providing impactful support to nonprofits and the communities that they serve. And we know that our nonprofit leaders, like you all, know that fact to be true as well. So we really empower nonprofit leaders to find consultants with both the professional and the lived experience that you think will best suit your needs and the community that you serve through our directory. And so I think that directory link has been put in the chat. Encourage you all to click on that, sift through that. That'll be sort of one of your homework assignments, is to continue to sort of wrestle with that directory and exploring all the different kinds of categories and ways to filter your search to really find the right fit for you. So you can filter, by professional specialty, by location, by personal identities, that are now a part of the historically marginalized communities. So one thing that's super important to note is that obviously we do not require any of our consultants to identify in any ways that they don't feel comfortable. It's all very optional. And for you as a nonprofit leader, if there is a particular type of experience, either professional or lived, that you are looking for, you can make that known in your request. And we can do our best to find matches based on that. But again, this directory is really more for you all to be able to do your own searching as well. Okay, so our next couple of values, equity and inclusion. This program is really exciting. Our consultant match lab is really aimed at closing some of the equity gaps in the consultant hiring process. So we know that, kind of as I was mentioning earlier with Lauren's story, we know that not all organizations have the resources to get a wider range of support. And, maybe your former colleague's uncle knows someone who's maybe heard of strategic planning. And so you get connected to folks that way, which is great to have a local network. And we really believe in the having access to a robust and equitable consultant hiring process. So some of the ways that we try to make that happen is we require nonprofits to search for a consultant using Easy Match and Direct Match, that they include price ranges in their search or in their contracting process. So we've found that this level of transparency, right, when a consultant can see what is the pay for this level of work, that helps in closing pay gaps, and it saves everyone time and resources by setting clear expectations. So for instance, with organizations who are, really looking for a super robust scope of work, and their budget is uh is smaller, that helps a nonprofit, or that helps a consultant be able to see and then ask more questions, either say no thanks or ask more questions. And we can talk a little bit more about how C4G also helps in the scoping process. So for instance, if you aren't sure what your budget is, you've kind of said like, we think this is what we can pay. We also can provide support through our scoping support program to help nonprofits craft a scope of work that includes an appropriate budget, timeline, and requirements for the consultant in terms of deliverables. So again, this also helps to reduce unconscious bias and systemic inequities that are again present in the hiring process. So, I think C4G can have as much involvement in the hiring process that makes sense for you all, right? We can guide you through a consultant hiring process through Direct Match, helping you understand the different types of consultant support that you can access for your budget. You can, again, find folks in the directory. There's lots of different ways for you to engage when you're in need of some consulting support. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll keep going from there. Okay, access. So accessibility, another really key value for us. And we're always working to make sure we're increasing and centering accessibility. So we believe that resources are a big part of, again, that sharing of ideas, sharing of resources are a big part of what makes this community what it is. So we round up resources to help improve access to opportunities for professional growth, affordable nonprofit tools, and other resources. So one example is our health and benefits program that helps nonprofits find affordable, high-quality health insurance and benefits, which I mentioned before. We also regularly update a list of capacity building grants that may help you cover the cost of hiring a consultant. So we try to really stay up to date on what grants are out there for capacity building. We know that is a major way that nonprofits can pay for consultants. Our members can also have access to, for instance, contracts that have been generously shared by consultants, right? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can go into the resource library and get a template of a contract that other consultants have used to help as a starting point. Now, obviously, we will say that none of that is sound legal advice, that you should definitely go about your own vetting process to make sure that it lines up with you and your organization's legal needs. But those are just templates or examples of things that other consultants have used. And then we also collaborate with organizations like the Nonprofit Learning Lab to help you access monthly learning sessions on a wide range of nonprofit related topics, like supervising and program evaluation and trauma-informed facilitation. Lots of different topics that come from them as well. All right, so those are our values. Those are what make this world go round for us. And we really hope that you are interested in either getting plugged in or re-engaging. And we always think it's a really helpful reminder to just know that C4G there's a lot here. There's a lot under this umbrella, and your membership is what you make of it. So think of C4G as an art studio. If you bring the unfinished canvas, we can offer the painting supplies, the art teachers, and a community of fellow artists. So you get to decide how to use those resources to complete your masterpiece. How much time and energy you want to invest into that, when you want to come to the studio and hang out, right? Like there's a lot that's within your control. So we'll leave you with a little homework to do on your own when it makes sense, again, however it fits for you. Here are just some 3 recommended next steps for how to get connected, stay connected with C4G. So following this session, you'll get an email with links to this as well. But first and foremost, again, like I said, build your community. So go check out the directory, play with some of the filters, get to know the different types of experts in our community. You can even send a direct message through the website if you want to get to know them more. Um, Obviously can't speak for all 1,400 of us, but for the most part, consultants here are really interested in building relationships with nonprofit professionals, and so they're generous with their time and wanting to build that. Um, you'll also see in that directory spotlight members. Their profiles they have like an orange box around them, and it says members or spotlight member, so you'll be able to know. And those profiles have additional links to social media pages and calendar scheduling. So there's a little bit more opportunity there to get connected. The next thing is to really get in on the LinkedIn side of our conversation. There's constantly posts of, questions, things that are getting talked about in the nonprofit sector, resources, tools. Join those conversations. You're welcome to access those tools, add any of your own thoughts and sort of insights. Again, this is a really collaborative community. And so we want to encourage folks to continue to engage in those conversations. Again, sharing tools, leaving comments, feedback, however it makes sense for you. And then the last piece is to bookmark your member benefits page. So this is going back to it is what you make of it, right? Go back, take small chunks whenever you can. Even if you aren't hiring a consultant right now, there's tons of templates and free on-demand resources that are relevant and supportive. And they're written by experts in the field. So those are open to you as a part of your membership as well. Okay, I did a lot of talking. I'm gonna stop now. Um, yeah, curious, and I realized that I maybe didn't. We can maybe do a quick little demo. I have in the chat, or if anyone wants to come out off mute, what are some things that you've hired consultants for in the past? Anything? Yeah, go ahead, Clarice.
When we did a sponsor sprint where we hired a consultant to help us with the upcoming event, we were looking for additional sponsors. So they helped us come up with the game plan of the immediate people to reach out to, what to say, what not to say, things like that.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So yeah, like event planning, fundraising, communications, all
I
good.
also got a Google Ads consultant too, because we have the Google Ads grant. And so they were helping, with that as well.
Yeah, marketing stuff.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Thank you, Clarice and Calvin. Yeah, Calvin says fundraising, capacity building, strategic planning, feasibility report. Awesome. Yeah, any other things that you have helped you've gotten help with from consultants? Let's see, Mandy, at a previous nonprofit, a performing arts org, we hired an outside consultant to do a full DEI audit across the org. Yeah. Also at a previous org, brought in feasibility consultants. Yeah, and a consultant for capital campaign. Absolutely. Yeah, that's come up a few times, feasibility, capital campaign stuff. So if you we can do a quick demo of the um directory if that feels helpful. Lauren, do you mind popping your screen? And while she's doing that, if there's any other like questions or thoughts or anything that's coming up for you, please feel free to shout those out, put them in the chat or come off mute. But yeah, you can, I mean, you can see here on the side, on the left side, how many different categories there are to search by. And then the way Lauren explains it is really super helpful that like, if you're not even sure, what specialty capital campaign would fall under or feasibility consultant would fall under, you can click this link right here that says view all categories. And that just gives you the whole list of categories. And so then you can kind of go through, and if you click on one, it brings up all of the consultants who have that as their specialty.
I'll give another good example for this. Literally happened the other day. I was talking to an organization that wanted help with some leadership training. Let's see if I remember the exact search. It was something like that. And then they wanted this person to also speak Spanish. And we'll see, Nikki was like one of the specific, okay, I'm not in an upgraded account, so that's fine. And that's just on the consultant side. Other free nonprofit accounts have full access to view all of these. So bad example right now, but when I did that, Nikki came up as it was like one of 3 consultants. And the cool thing about that was being able to get that specific. This organization would maybe have had to choose, okay, do we want a Spanish speaker or a leadership expert? Okay, well, if we choose a leadership expert, that's fine. But now we're also going to have to hire a translator and interpreter in order to run those, and being able to get that specific and find somebody like Nikki in a way that they wouldn't necessarily have in their primary network was great. I think especially if you're searching for things like strategic planning, get super specific. I think we have like somewhere between 200 and 400 strategic planners. So you can be really specific instead of just somebody that you happen to know. And really that can align with what you're looking for. And as Nikki said, any of those consultant match lab processes, if you're like, we need a fundraiser, but we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what our budget is. We don't know exactly what that support looks like. We can walk you through, help build out that scope, help make some recommendations for what your search looks like, kind of walk you through it. Basically, the idea is if you hire a consultant once or twice a year, you don't actually need to be an expert in hiring a consultant. That's probably not worth your time to build that skill. So we want to provide that side of support for you as well.
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, what other questions? Anything else coming up? Any insights or feedback? We love feedback. Or if you've already sort of accessed some of your membership perks, any stories you want to share about that? Everyone's good. Everyone's already ready to jump in. Gonna hire consultant today. Just kidding. All right. Well, cool. Yeah, y'all will receive, like I said, an email, a follow-up email with some links. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and yeah, continue to reach out. We're here for support if you need more information or you just need someone to kind of talk through and soundboard with in terms of what your next steps are. Yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nikki.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your day.
Great. Let me just stop the recording.